Hey everybody, it's your boy Jim Austin coming to you from the Stockyards Podcast Recording Studios in North Fort Worth. I'm here doing my weekly, daily, sometimes podcast. It's called the Austin File. We talk about commercial real estate. We also talk about let you know what's going on in North Texas, and we talk to people that have an interest, something to say. So today I have one of my dearest friends, Mr. Russell Maryland, and he came over today to greet us, and I want to welcome you, Russ, to the Stockyards Podcast Recording Studios. How you doing?
Jim, I'm doing well, man. I'm glad to be here, man. How long have you been doing these podcasts?
Well, we've been at it about 4 months. 4 months,
and
Russ.
it's taking this long for you to get me on the podcast? You just said I was one of your dearest friends.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and
sir.
If I'm one of your dearest friends, you would think that I would have been here about 4 months ago.
Well, you should have been my first interviewee. Now that I'm thinking about it, sir.
Oh, okay. Who was your first interviewee? You remember?
Shoot, who was that?
It was just probably somebody that you just, you didn't
know. It was me.
Okay. I should have known. I should have known.
Yeah, Russ, it was me.
And the second one was probably you too. And the third. No, I'm just kidding, Jim. It's good to be here, man. I like to get at you a little bit.
But, you and I have known each other, or the first time we met was Russell was a rookie for the Dallas Cowboys, and that's the time that we met. We were on the way to the mandatory luncheon that the Cowboys give, that all the players have to be at, and I was running late, and Russ was running late. We were walking in today. That was our first time we met. How many years ago was that?
29 years ago. I want to say, what is it, 2020? So, yeah, it was 91, so... Yeah, next year will be 30 years. So that was 29 years ago, Jim.
29 years ago. And what happened is I was a big Dallas Cowboy fan and walked in and met Russ. And then we kind of – first of all, Russell Maryland, former Dallas Cowboy, 3 Super Bowls, 2 national championships with University of Miami under the same coach, Jimmy Johnson. And we have matriculated and became friends, and I lost contact with him, and we was hanging out on the Tom Joyner cruise.
Oh yeah, we sure were, man. We're having a good time. And I get a call to my stateroom, say, "Hey, you remember me? I'm Jim Austin from Fort Worth, Texas." I'm like, no, I don't remember you. That was 10 years. It was 10 years before. No. I did vaguely remember you. I remembered you. I was running late. I was coming up the steps as a rookie, and you don't want to be late with Coach Johnson. And so I'm like trying to get in, and I see Jim, and Jim's like, "Hey," and I'm like, man, I don't want to be late. So I do remember you from.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I was in my stateroom, and Tom Joyner said, "Man, we got Russell Maryland on the ship." So his room wasn't a code, so I called his room, and he answered. So we met at the elevator, and we've been friends ever since. Russ came on our board of the National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum for about 6 years, and a great guy, has a great reputation within the community, has 3 beautiful children, 2 girls and a boy. And his beautiful wife, Rose, lives in South Lake and doing some amazing things.
And if Rose actually saw this podcast,
yes,
she would say, "Why do you have your mask on and Jim doesn't?" I'm just, I don't want to go home and get whooped, man.
Well, let me put my mask on.
Okay, thank you for both of our sakes, okay?
For both of our sakes.
Man, but it's funny, man. It's wild. Thinking, I hadn't seen you a lot since this pandemic and everything. It's just amazing. We've been going through this about the 8th month of it, and it's been crazy. And you never would think that, I'd have to walk around with one of these on, or have a shield on or something. But no, that's just life as we know it right now. So hopefully it changes pretty soon. But
yeah, hopefully they can find a cure
for
this.
Sure.
Tell my listening audience where you from, where you grew up.
Yes.
where you went to school, and I know you got a lot of stories, and I know my 20-minute period here, we're not going to be able to embrace all of that because I've heard you be keynote speaker at major events, and you're kind of a funny cat too.
Stand-up comedian in my spare time. But Jim, I'm from city of Chicago, South Side. Born and raised there, grew up, and had a great opportunity by the grace of God to get a scholarship, the last scholarship, football scholarship at the University of Miami in 1986 when I was 17 years old. So I left Chicago then, went down to Miami, and just kind of made a name for myself as a football player. As the University of Miami Hurricane, won 2 national championships. And also, by the grace of God, and it just kind of goes to show you, it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. Jimmy Johnson was my coach at the University of Miami when I got to University of Miami, but then he came here to our Dallas Cowboys and said, you know what, I need a Russell Maryland on my team. And it just so happened they had the #1 pick in 1991, and the rest is history. They granted me that pick, and I wanted to show not only Coach Johnson, show the city of Dallas and Fort Worth, I wanted to show myself that they did well with that #1 pick, and I was worthy of that #1 pick. So that's just the way that I played. Was able to play 10 years in the NFL with the Cowboys, the Raiders, and 1 year with Green Bay. And then after that, the rest is history. I met you again in 2002 after I retired, and then we forged a great relationship since then, Jim, and it's been all good.
Well, my wife and I, love you, Rose, and the girls. I think we were over at some appliance store one day, and we won an oven,
Sure
so
that
was funny. The girls come running out, Dad, Mr. Austin won a oven at Texas Appliance.
It was Texas Appliance. You had to throw darts at a balloon, and if you pop the balloon, you see what was behind it. And old Jim, man, he's so lucky. He's a lucky dog, man. Won an oven, man, a big old oven. One of the small ones, a big one too. So
yeah, it's still in my house.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
still working. So that was a funny story, and there's a lot of funny stories. But tell people, what's some of the biggest moments in your life?
Mm-hmm.
I know you're very close to your dad,
Yeah.
and mom, and there's so many stories. But somebody that's going to play football or any sports, what's some advice that you would give some young folks, Russ?
Well, I tell you what, now that I have a son that's 16 years old, and he's a junior playing football, and he's doing fairly well for this season. Hopefully we can finish the season through this pandemic, but he's doing well, and I find myself telling him the same things that I hear my father ringing in my head from 30, 40 years ago. Just whatever you do, do it with all your might. Don't go out there half-stepping, son. Every trip of the train. And I was like, well, what is he talking about? But that's like old school for being in every down, every play, every day, do your best. And I find myself telling my son that because I remember the days, I would see my father. He worked for Chrysler Corporation. He was one of the first African-American zone managers in the Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana area. I see him leave the house early, come home late, after having gone on, taking all the dealers, taking all the dealers' car orders and then sending them back to Detroit, Chrysler. I saw him work hard, and that work ethic was instilled in me. My mother, I saw her work hard also. Both my parents had jobs that provided a decent living for me, my 2 brothers. And you looking at me back then, and my brothers, we ate a lot. And they had to provide a lot for those big old boys. So my mom would go out. She worked 30 years at the city of Chicago in the police department. She was an accountant.
Wow.
And so I saw both my parents' work ethic, and that was instilled in me, and that's what I try to instill in my kids also.
Mm-hmm. Well, both your daughters graduated from the University of Miami also, and I know.
I got one that graduated and one will be graduating in a couple of years. So and she's doing well. So she's on the right track.
So you like Miami a little bit?
Well, just a little bit, Miami. tell you, at 17 years old, when I'm shoveling snow one morning, and I'm down in Miami on the beach the next morning, I was like, oh, Chicago, Miami. I'll always love Chicago, but Miami is like my second home, man. It made me into a man, and people show me a lot of love down there for what I did on the football field. So, I love Miami a little bit, and now my kids are loving it also.
Last year, you got a big award. I mean, you went out of town somewhere, and you got a big award. What was that award last year?
Jim, now it's so many awards, man.
I know. Okay. Well, Super Bowl was probably if we had to talk about awards. And Super Bowl, you've let me put the Super Bowl ring on a couple of times.
I have.
And you've come to my business mixer, and you let people wear the ring.
Yeah.
And all.
Yeah. You know what? That was a really huge moment in my life. That first Super Bowl 27. Where we had a lot of young players on the team. We had the triplets, Troy, Mike, and Emmett, but we had a really great subset of the nucleus of the team, guys that you never heard of, like a Kenny Shark Gant, or Jim Jeffcoat, who was my mentor. He taught me everything to know about the NFL. Guys that didn't get all the accolades, but were great players. Tony Tolbert, who I played right next to, who was a great defensive end. That first Super Bowl, when we went out to Pasadena playing against the Buffalo Bills, and everybody was saying, the Buffalo Bills, you lost 2 times before in the Super Bowl, you guys are going to win this time. And the Cowboys were like, no, you're going to have to wait. Not just this year, but next year too. So that was a blast going and battling against Jim Kelly, another Hurricane, and great players like Bruce Smith and Andre Reed. It was great to go out there and then come out of that game as victors, and so you could say, man, we are the best football team in the world. That was excellent. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And 3 of them,
Three of them, yeah. Who'd have thought? Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones put together a great team, and not only did we have a great team full of great players, but we had guys that were competitive, that worked hard, that sacrificed, and did the things that we needed to do in order to become champions. And anytime you're a part of that, whether it be on the football field, on the basketball court, on a big real estate mogul company, doesn't matter if it's in the restaurant, whatever. When you assemble that team, like we have here at the Jim Austin, company, when you assemble that type of team, it's a wonderful feeling, wonderful, wonderful feeling.
Relationships, I mean, you and I, we pick at each other a lot. And generally, when people pick at each other, it's a reason because you like that person or you care about that person, because you wouldn't do that, And
Mm-hmm.
you and I, we had the Russell, Maryland Celebrity Golf Tournament for 5 years. And you were a great board member with the museum. And you adore my wife.
Yes.
I think sometimes you like her more than you like me. But
what makes you think that, Joe?
Because every time I talk to you, man, how's Gloria? Where's Gloria? Then when I see y'all together, I said, I need to keep an eye on this brother.
No, Gloria's my big sis, man. Gloria is she's the girl, man. Gloria is she's the brains of this operation. You may be the brawn. She's the brain. So, I love Gloria. Gloria's here. She's way here. Yeah. You are like here, right? Did I go down there? Where'd I go?
Did Jim fall off the table? No. People say when they greet me, I remember one of my Hall of Famers came up. He said, "Where's Gloria?" And I said, "Hell, what about where's Jim or how's Gloria?" But no, love you, honey, and
we love you,
a lot of respect, and always tell people.
But it was a blast. Working with the Cowboys of Color Museum back then. Now it's the multicultural Western. And I'm not going to get that right. I'm getting it wrong already.
Hey, Russ, there it is right there. Can you read
the
that?
National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum and Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Working being on the board with that was a great experience. was an educational experience for me also, learning about the Cowboys, and the Cowgirls, and just the pioneers that helped to build the West, and the true story of those pioneers. That was an education for me, and I was also a blast to be able to work with. So I thank you for introducing me to that.
Yeah. We go deep, and we're fraternity brothers. We members of Sigma Pi Phi fraternity, and a lot of stories that we have. I know we're getting ready to run out of time. Mm-hmm. What are you doing now, Russ?
What am I doing now? I'm trying to stay healthy. I'm trying to stay sane. It was a great time in this pandemic, having to spend with my kids. My daughters were at home. My son was at home for a good part of the spring and summer. So we had a chance to bond, and I value that. I value family. And I didn't realize that I'd have this time with them last year, and so having that time was really special to me. So I spent a lot of time with my kids. I speak. I do lots of motivational speaking. I've ramped it down a notch just for the sake of, there comes a time where you need to kind of sit back and kind of rethink about where your life is going. I'm 51 years old now. I can remember those days where I was back playing football all over the field, and a physical specimen. I like to think so. But now, I'm that physical specimen with a big gut and a little bit of gray on top of my head, and so now it's about mental. You got to really do a lot more reading, read things that are of substance, and not just a bunch of cartoons like I used to do when I was a kid. So you as a man, you need to kind of change the game up and act as such. I got 3 kids and a lovely wife that I'm supporting, and you just got to, flip the script a little bit, and just know that, hey, there are more important things out there that you have to go and fight for, and that's what I'm doing, fighting for the things that are worth fighting for.
That's important, because you're a role model, not to just the nation, but to your kids and to your friends, and kudos to that, to being a giver.
Yes.
You're a giver and all. And it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Welcome to the Stockyards recording studios.
Yeah.
This is my show, The Austin File, and we do this twice a week, 2 days a week. We just talk about it and keep people engaged and abreast.
Yeah.
I'm still open if you decide you still want to get your real estate license and come up here and hang out with the guys. I almost had Russell. Russell took the classes, got ready to pass the test, and then he had a little boy. And then he gave me the call and said, Jim, I'm not going to be able to do that commercial real estate business, because I was trying to be equal with one of the biggest firms in town, Roger Staubach's firm.
Yeah.
I said, Roger making it happen, because, when you call, people answer Russ's call, and people don't always answer my call.
No, Jim, you don't sell yourself short, man. Jim Austin is the unofficial mayor of Fort Worth. He's the mayor. Betsy Price may be the mayor, but you are the mayor of Fort Worth. So they will answer your call, Jim.
Thank you. Well, Russ, it's been a blast talking to you. Is there anything you want to just do a shout out to the kids?
Yeah. Shout out to my kids, Kyra, Iris, Russell Jr. Russell Jr. is out there playing Carroll Dragon football, South Lake Carroll. He's a tight end, and he's doing a bang-up job. So I'm really proud to see him out there giving it his all every Friday night. My lovely wife, Rose, who is she's my backbone, and thank you, baby, for all you've done for the family. Appreciate you. That's it.
Well, this has been truly an experience. This is Jim Austin with the Austin Company, Jim Austin Online, National Multicultural Western Heritage Museum. Today, I'm interviewing my friend, Russell Maryland. Thank you, big brother.
All right, no problem, Jim.